ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वातात्मजं वानरयूथमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शिरसा नमामि। कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलम्। आपदामपहर्तारं दातारं सर्वसम्पदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम्। दक्षिणे लक्ष्मणो यस्य वामे च जनकात्मजा पुरतो मारुतिर्यस्य तं वन्दे रघुनन्दनम्। So, if we remember where we had stopped when we met 2 weeks ago, the battle between Lakshmana and Indrajit had gone into a serious frenzy. There were a lot of casualties on both sides. Indrajit had struck Lakshmana very badly and broken his coat of mail or armor. In return, Lakshmana also shattered Indrajit's bow, Indrajit's armor, and they struck each other with arrows that passed through their bodies, went into the ground. So we discussed the mighty battle between the two. And where we ended was that Vibhishana, seeing Lakshmana fight like this, came to assist him. And by that, we read that Valmiki and Lakshmana, because it is Lakshmana's thought, that Priyam Hitam Upapadayan Mahatma Samaram Upetya Vibhishanos Tavaste. So Vibhishana came, and it was something he offered as a good tiding, a good service unto Lakshmana. So we will start from and continue from here on to chapters 89 and 90 of Yuddha Kanda. So Valmiki gives this one more time. Yudhyamano tato drashtva prasakto nararakshasau prabhinna vivamatangau paraspara jayeshinau. Tato drashtva. Having seen that or seen that situation, what is that situation? Yuddhamano. These two were fighting very, very intensely with each other. And how do we know that the fight was very intense? Prasaktau. Sakta or asakti is attachment. Prasakta means very seriously attached to winning over each other. Indrajit wanted to seriously win over Lakshmana. Lakshmana wanted to kill Indrajit and win this battle. Nara Rakshasa, human being and Rakshasa. So the sides are not equal. They're not matching at all. One is a very mighty Rakshasa. He has great medals around his neck that he has defeated Indra, the king of the demigods. Indra is not a weak person by any means. He killed the great Vritrasura. He has killed so many asuras, and this one, that one, cut off the wings of mountains. His resume is very mighty, and Indrajit defeated Indra. So, Nara Rakshasa, Prabhinnav iva matangau. They were like two elephants that were maddened. Paraspara jaya ishinav. That they had all desire, all determination, sankalpa, this thing that I have to win over my opponent. Tayor yuddham drishtakamo varachapa bali. Oh, these two mighty heroes were holding on to their best of bows. Varachapa drashtukamo tayor yuddham. So Vibhishana, while he's seeing what is going on, he wanted to be together with Lakshmana and came to the battle with his own excellent bow. Varachapa dharo shuraha sa Ravana bhrata tasthau sangrama murdhani. Sangrama murdhani, at the head of the battlefield. That means where the leaders are Lakshmana and Indrajit. They are fighting. Vibhishana brought his chariot with a mighty bow in his hand, wanted to see what is going on and how he can assist. And Vibhishana, standing firmly in his own chariot, shot mighty arrows towards the Rakshasas. And his shooting was so intense that left, right, and center, the Rakshasas were all falling down, and the battlefield was being cleaved like when a massive strike of lightning hits the mountaintop and splits the mountaintop. And Vibhishana has four very well-known followers. So they too completely tried and destroyed the Rakshasa army, and they were fighting with pikes and swords and very sharp-edged spears. And suddenly Vibhishana was surrounded by all the Rakshasas. And he looked like a mighty elephant in the middle of baby elephants who are just getting their new tusks. Have you seen the pictures of mighty elephants which have very, very big tusks? One of my classmates from engineering, a completely sidebar, irrelevant, but to give you a picture. He's an avid photographer and he visits the safaris in Africa, and he has come about 10 feet away from one of the living mightiest elephants on the planet, whose tusks are so long and heavy that each tusk, they say, is about a ton. Is very, very mighty animal. And he was 10 feet away and took a picture. I think I'll show you on the WhatsApp group what that picture looks like. Fascinating beast. So Vibhishana looked like that elephant in front of little elephants who are just getting their tusks, meaning he was like the boss and they were all like little kids. But the way Vibhishana was fighting, it inspired the other Vanara leaders who were all very, very eager and fond of killing these Rakshasas. They all jumped into the situation. So then Vibhishana is inspiring them even further, and he is giving an account because in the fighting was sometimes in the course of life, this is an important point, in the course of life, as one is going through, especially in the life of bhakti, and one may think, when will this anartha nivriti end? I'm so tired, I'm exhausted, I have so many troubles and problems, and my heart is not getting purified. It is very good to see where we started from, where we were before we met the Vaishnavas, and what the process of sadhana bhakti has been gifted to us, and the grace of the Lord as to where we are today. We may not think that we have progressed, but look from where we started and we will see, the mercy of the Lord has been working on me like anything. The mercy of the Vaishnavas particularly has transformed my life and made it better up until this point. So Vibhishana is now going to give a quick list, and he says, here in front of you stands Indrajit, the very last support of Ravana. Once he's gone, Ravana has absolutely no support of any kind. So, oh, Vanara chiefs, why are you just standing idle? Jump in, finish off the Rakshasas, Indrajit, anyone who's done, we're almost victorious. Hmm? Because Ravana, if we kill Indrajit or if Indrajit dies, consider that Ravana is also as good as dead. And then who gives a list of all the Rakshasas have been killed for now. Not the little tiny ones, the mighty ones. I'm not going to repeat it in English, so see if you catch the names. Prahasto, Nehato Viro, Nikumbhascha Mahabalaha, Kumbhakarnascha Kumbhascha, Dhumrakshascha Nishacharaha, Jambumali Mahamali, Tikshna Vego Ashani Prabaha, Suptagno Yagnakopascha, Vajradamshta Rakshasaha, Samhadri Vikato Arignastapoto Manda Evacha Praghasaha Praghasaschaiva Prajango Janga Evacha Agniketuscha Durdharsho Rashmiketuscha Viryavan Vidyujjivho Dvijjivhascha Suryashatruscha Rakshasaha Akampanaha Suparshvascha Chakramali cha Rakshasaha Kampanaha Sattvavantav Tau Devantaka Narantakau. The whole long list. We have killed all of them one after the other, one after the other. And now, if you have achieved so much, we're at the last mile of this battle, which, if you compare this, we have crossed a mighty ocean. All that is left is water contained in a calf hoof print. Goshpadam Laghu. This is very easy. We have come this far. Don't give up. Don't become lax. Don't become complacent. These Rakshasas are very proud of their strength. But they were all killed one by one. Okay. Now, as far as Indrajit is concerned, I can kill him very easily and quickly. But unfortunately, it will not be appropriate. Because he's after all my nephew. He's like my son. Ayuktam nidhanam kartum. Putrasya janitar mama. Janitur mama. Putrasya janitur. He is very much like my son. Ayuktam nidhanam kartum. So if I kill him, it would be inappropriate. Grinam apasa ramarthe nihanyam bhraturatmaja. For the sake of Sri Ramachandra, I might even think of doing it. After all, this is Sri Ramachandra's service. I cannot say that is my family, my nephew. But I do have some feelings for him. He's after all my nephew. Hantu kamasya me bhashpam chakchushchaiva nirudhyati. Tame vaisha mahabalur lakshmanaha samaishyati. But when I think of killing Indrajit with my own hands, my eyes are filled with tears out of compassion for him. But the right person who can give him a good battle and kill him would be Lakshmana. So, oh Vanaras, let's get together and try and get through the last mile. So all the Vanaras got very encouraged. They were all ready, and to show agreement to Vibhishana's words, they started lashing their tails out of their great joy. The phrase used is they started slashing, or not slashing, they started lashing their tails on the ground. Vanarendra Jagrishire. There was a great harsha, a great joy born in them Langulani cha vivyudha. They started lashing their tails on the ground. Tatastu kapishardula. Kshvedantascha punah punah. And they started roaring again and again. So one roared, the other monkey general, and the great persons like Jambavan, Hanuman, Sharaba, Mainda, all these, they one after the other, they started roaring again and again, again and again. And the sound was the intensity with which they were roaring, Valmiki says, is like the peacocks when they loudly sing at the sight of dark clouds. Mumuchur Vividhan Nadan Meghan Drashtum Eva Barhinaha. When peacocks see clouds. Jambavan, who was surrounded by his own set of bears and other monkeys, got so inspired that very quickly started to smash Rakshasas left, right, and center with stones with their nails and teeth. Now, for visualization, the Rakshasas have weapons, spears, arrows, swords, and other varieties of weapons. For them, they don't have to be too close to their enemy because the weapon will create that distance, whether it's a sword or a spear or arrows. Arrows means you can even be even farther. But Jambavan and other monkeys, while they were throwing stones, they're also rushing towards the Rakshasas so that the Rakshasas cannot start firing or throwing their weapons. And they are this close to the enemy that they are clawing them and biting them. So this is very risky when you're so close to the enemy. But that's how they're fighting with such impetuosity. They are just biting, tearing their flesh off, scratching them, and making deep indents into their bodies with their nails. They shook off all their fear. And even the Rakshasas, their energy doubled because they were being attacked like anything, and they started surrounding Jambavan and all of his followers with mighty weapons, and there was a havoc created on the battlefield. And Jambavan got beat really with so many arrows, poked by spears, cut by swords, uh, plundered by iron clubs. I mean, Jambavan was taking beating like anything. And in this, there was such a loud clamor. Both the Rakshasas are yelling, shouting war cries. The Vanaras are crying and roaring war cries. It sounded like the time when Indra and his entire army of the Suras were fighting against the Asuras. That the whole universe, in one sense, could hear. They knew. Yata Bhimo Mahaswanaha. Swanaha means sound. Mahaswana, very loud sound. And further up, Bhimo Mahaswanaha. Bhimaha means fearful. Very scary. When you hear such loud noises, if you have ever experience of a F-16 flying close to you, you will hear it. It's scary. So, as the battle continues, when Jambavan was getting beaten up like this, and the Rakshasas were also fighting, Lakshmana, who was being carried by Hanuman all this while. So Hanuman asked Lakshmana to dismount from his, not asked, dismounted. Lakshmana ran. As he was running, he uprooted a sal tree from a mountain and got so enraged that he himself was difficult for his enemy to even look at. Running with that sal tree, began smashing the Rakshasas and killing them in thousands, and giving such a fearful fight. On the other side, Indrajit did not stop. And Lakshmana also very full on fight with Indrajit. They were showering each other with constant shower of arrows. They were showering each other with streams of arrows. And here's a visual. If you want, you can try and imagine in your mind's eye. Valmiki says both Indrajit and Lakshmana were so fast in this motion of pulling out an arrow, a suitable arrow, saying whatever mantras, pulling it to the ear and releasing it and taking the next arrow. This speed was so high that he says that due to the quickness as how they were fighting it, you could not see the hand as it moved to the quiver, pulling out an arrow, mounting it on the bow, pulling it to the ear, and releasing it and going for the next. You could not see the hands. They were so fast. And they were showering each other. The entire sky was covered with arrows because they were a constant stream. It looked like a canopy that had covered any sunlight away. So under the canopy of the arrows, the battlefield became very dark. Lakshmana fought with Indrajit. Indrajit fought with Lakshmana, and they took offensive at each other. And as they are fighting left, right, and center, the sky became completely dark because of the entire canopy of weapons and arrows. And slowly and slowly, simultaneously, the sun was setting. And as the sun set on the horizon, suddenly the battlefield had long shadows and it turned dark. So now they are fighting in the dark. And all they could feel was a flood of blood moving through where they are standing. So the ground also is not strong anymore, because if there is a flood of water, it's hard. In that, without being able to see where their enemies are, they are fighting. And because so many dead bodies are floating on that, I guess, river of blood or that flood, that up in the sky they could hear carnivorous birds and jackals loudly singing, because now their feast is ready. All of these vultures and other birds circling in the sky, howling by the jackals, and the fight is continuing. The the entire situation became so scary, dreadful, ghastly, with so many vanaras and rakshasas dying and blood flowing and the sky becoming dark and the vultures circling, jackals howling, that the rishis who had collected in the sky to see this battle very quickly, out of the compassion in their heart, sent blessings to the entire world. Swasti astu lokasya iti jajal jajalpuste maharshaya. Jajalpuste, uttered. Very quickly started uttering, may the world be safe, may the world be safe, may all the living beings who are not involved in the battle be protected. Sampetushchatra samtapta Gandharva sahacharane. And all the Gandharvas and Charanas who were collected in the sky, even they fled from the scene because it was too much to bear. Nobody had seen a war like this. Meanwhile, Lakshmana pulled out his arrow with 4 excellent arrows, shot the 4 black horses of Indrajit's chariot. And the weapon that he used was called a bhalla. And it was shot with it had beautiful plumes in the back, and he shot it with such strength that the 4 horses died, or got very severely pierced. And then Lakshmana shot another arrow and cut off the head of Indrajit's charioteer. And the horses just started circling because there was nobody, the chariot driver could not, there wasn't one to control and direct them. So they were running around in circles with great speed. But Indrajit, who himself is a great warrior, with one hand took all the reins of the four horses and was still fighting. And he was so good at it that uh, he was not only managing the horses, but also picking up his weapons. So his mind, his intelligence is so sharp. He knows which weapon to pick up. It's not just some random thing. That everybody who was there onlooking the scene became completely marveled at Indrajit's skill. Now, what Lakshmana did is when Indrajit is holding the reins of the horses, Lakshmana was shooting Indrajit. But when Indrajit was holding the weapons, Lakshmana was shooting the horses. This way, trying to weaken Indrajit. Hayeshu Vyagrahastam. Vyagrahastam, holding on to the reins of the horses. Tam Vivyadha Nishitai Share. Then he would shoot sharp arrows. Danushyatha Punarvyagram. But when he would again hold on to his own bow, Indrajit, Hayeshu Mumuche Sharan. Then he would shoot the horses. And such time, Lakshmana was releasing a shower of arrows, and Indrajit, still absolutely undaunted, was fighting back. Now, here is the body of the charioteer with his head cut off, his horses being shot with arrows of Lakshmana, not some ordinary arrow. Indrajit started to lose the zest for battle. Vishannaha. Vishannaha sabubhuvaha. It was tiring Indrajit, and Indrajit could not continue because he didn't have the right equipment with him. So then Lakshmana saw that Indrajit is becoming dejected. Around him, all the Vanara generals who were also there became extremely delighted and started to applaud Lakshmana for the great way in which he was tiring and weakening Indrajit. Now, four monkeys, when generals who by nature are very impatient, they are restless, Pramathi, Rabhasa, Sharabha, and Gandhamadana. They could not hold themselves any further. They just sprung in a moment, sprung onto Indrajit's chariot and just fell. Each one fell on each of the four horses of Indrajit. They are so big like mountains, and when they fell on the horses of Indrajit, the horses just got crushed to the ground and vomited blood just under the weight of these mighty Vanaras. And these Vanaras immediately rushed back and stood with Lakshmana. Now, the horses are dead, charioteer is dead, everything is shattered for Indrajit. Indrajit leapt down from his chariot and stood on the ground and started fighting with Lakshmana. Lakshmana, the great Lakshmana, here is the lovely verse. Tato Mahendra Pratimaha. Maha Indra Pratimaha. He looked like the mighty Indra as standing right there. Tato Mahendra Pratimaha sa Lakshmanaha Padatinam tam Nihatair Hayottamaihi. Because Indrajit's horses were killed, he was standing on the battleground on his own feet. Surjantamajau Nishitan Sharottaman Bhrisham Tada Banaganer Vyadarayat, started releasing a volley of arrows towards Indrajit, and Indrajit also is fighting. Now, This battle between the two is now going to become even more fierce. Indrajit is enraged. His eyes are bloodshot red, but he has now very, very extra energy in him because the adrenaline. I don't know if Rakshasas have that hormone called adrenaline, but it's running for them, in my understanding of it, that it is full on. They're becoming even more stronger and fighting left, right, and center with Lakshmana. Now, while these two are fighting, the Vanaras and the Rakshasas are clashing with each other because they don't want to give up Indrajit's side, and the Vanaras don't want to give up Lakshmana's side. But at the same time, each party is applauding their own leaders. Hmm? And as the Rakshasas are clapping and applauding and glorifying Indrajit, he is becoming stronger and stronger. So he said to his followers, all around us, we are shrouded in darkness. So it's becoming difficult to tell who is my team and who is my enemy. Hmm? So at this point in time, all I can tell you is don't worry. Just kill anybody who you feel is standing in front of you. What I'll do meanwhile, I will go back into Lanka, get another chariot, and come back. Meanwhile, you manage however you can and just massacre all the Vanaras while I come back. So, saying that, quickly Indrajit went back into Lanka to get another chariot. Now he got one that was splendid, completely bedecked with gold. It had darts and spears, swords, arrows. The best of horses were already yoked to the chariot, and this time the charioteer was even more intelligent than the previous one because he could read the mind of the horses. And he could give good advice to Indrajit. And so they came back right into the battlefield. Now, when he came back, he also, the son of Mandodari, was surrounded by a new battalion of Rakshasas. Rushing out of the city of Lanka, he went back. When Indrajit came back in a new chariot, Lakshmana and the Vanaras and Vibhishana, they became completely enthralled. My book just crashed on me. Sorry, let me pull it up. I don't know why. Sorry for the pause. So, as yes, please. Oh no. Oh no. Interruption in the battle scene. Not a good indication. We are in chapter 90. Oh, Command F. Come on. Oh, there it is. 90. What? I'm sorry, I'm talking to myself. My entire document just crashed. 90 is X. Yeah, what to do? Obstacles on the path of service. Hmm. Sorry. My apologies. No, Ravana. 110. Oh, next thing that's coming up after this is the fight between Rama and Ravana. Uh, I'm excited about that one also. Okay, where are we? 105. This chapter 90. 97. I am so sorry. Please forgive me. Okay. Okay, where were we? Came back in his chariot. Where is his chariot? Okay. Looking at Indrajit in his new chariot, horses, all of the regalia, Vibhishana, Lakshmana, all the Vanaras, uh, they were in great wonder. Oh, Vanarascha Mahavirya, Rakshasascha Vibhishanam, uh, Ratham Alokya, looking at that chariot, became Vismayam Param, became stunned, wondered. And Indrajit, filled with rage, was coming and striking down all the Vanaras in hundreds and thousands. Patayamasa Bana Bana Aughe. Aughe is all the different weapons, arrows and other spears. Shatasho Atha, Shatasho Atha Sahasrashaha, in hundreds and thousands. So suddenly they were like, what happened to Indrajit? He's become so strong that he is destroying our Vanara army in massive numbers all in once. Indrajit was pulling the bowstring all the way to his ears and killing hundreds of monkeys, and everyone being struck so much became shocked, and they didn't know what to do. And all the Vanaras came towards Lakshmana on the floor and saying, Lakshmana, please do something. Just as when the world is harassed by Rakshasas or terrorizing elements, all the Devatas go to Lord Brahma, just like that. So Lakshmana, when somebody is saying Pahi, Pahi, Lakshmana became so angry that he shot an arrow and completely shattered the bow in Indrajit's hand. And then he took another arrow and sent it so fast that Indrajit, who was shooting arrows back at Lakshmana, Lakshmana's three arrows completely tore one of Indrajit's arrows. Then Lakshmana picked up 5 deadly arrows and pierced the chest of Indrajit. The arrows penetrated into Indrajit's body uh, and fell to the ground like huge red serpents, which means they had taken out Indrajit's blood like anything. So Indrajit started to vomit blood from his mouth. His bow was completely split, and immediately picked up another bow whose string was even stronger and stouter. And he aimed at Lakshmana and shot arrows that were hissing like serpents. Yet Lakshmana was completely not at all flinching, and he was also shooting back arrows. But Lakshmana, who himself is Raghunandana, was shooting arrows asambhranta, without any bewilderment. And he showed Indrajit his prowess. So even Indrajit was like, wow. Lakshmana is a great warrior. So when these two are fighting, Indrajit shot some arrows, right? 3 arrows onto Lakshmana's face, in his eyebrows. And more arrows were constantly coming at Lakshmana. Now, Lakshmana, even with these arrows shot in his face, uh, was releasing wonderful arrows. And with that obstruction on his face, these arrows, Lakshmana shot in such a way that he cut off the head of the charioteer again. Now, Indrajit again has no charioteer, and this time the horses are continuing to roam around the battlefield again in circles. And Valmiki says that was marvelous to see it. Lakshmana, not at all tired, becoming even angrier at Indrajit, shot 10 arrows. And I'm sorry, Indrajit shot 10 arrows on Lakshmana and broke Lakshmana's armor. Now, previously also, we heard that Indrajit had shattered Lakshmana's armor. And now he's saying he shot his armor, which means there was another armor that Lakshmana had wore. That's the Dhvani. And this time, when it is all shattered, uh, uh, started shooting arrows on the forehead of Lakshmana. Now, Lakshmana looked like a mountain with 3 peaks because of the 3 arrows sticking out of his forehead. Yet, Lakshmana shot arrows one after the other and incessantly pierced Indrajit. What Lakshmana did is he shot 5 arrows in the face of Indrajit. And Indrajit's face, he says, was decorated with nice, lovely earrings. Now, these two heroes, Lakshmana and Indrajit, kept on fighting with mighty bows. They struck each other with arrows. Both of them were smeared with blood from head to toe. They looked like Kimshuka trees in full blossom. Now, while this is going on, Vibhishana was also nearby. Indrajit became very angry with Vibhishana and struck Vibhishana with 3 arrows. And it says that Vibhishana had a very pleasing face, but he was shot with 3 arrows. And Indrajit also shot all the great Vanara heroes that were around Lakshmana. Now, all this time, when they were fighting, Vibhishana is also fighting. But this time, when Vibhishana is struck, Vibhishana became very angry, and he had a gada in his hand. He ran up to the chariot and completely smashed the horses of Indrajit's chariot. Now, Indrajit knew the horses were killed, so he leapt from his chariot onto the ground and picked up a javelin, long spear-like thing, and threw it on his uncle Vibhishana. Generally, one should not fight with one's own elder. This is what Arjuna was so much in agony. How can I fight in battle with those whom I consider like my fathers, like my teachers, my superiors? Krishna, I cannot fight like that. It is not correct. So when Indrajit hurled that javelin at Vibhishana, Lakshmana, who's at this time fighting, saw, and in a very quick way shot 9 arrows and split the javelin into 10 pieces before it even reached Vibhishana. So imagine the aim, the speed, the skill with which Lakshmana is fighting. Now, feeling very angry at Indrajit, Vibhishana, who himself had a bow in his hand, dug 5 arrows into the chest of Indrajit. And these arrows had golden feathers in them, and they went into Indrajit's body and fell to the ground reddish in color. So the golden color is not visible, all red, look like red snakes. Now Indrajit became very angry. How dare my uncle hit me like this? So he picked up an arrow that was gifted to him by Yamaraj, and shot it. Now, when Lakshmana saw that this is a arrow that was Yamaraj's power on it, Lakshmana himself mounted an arrow that was gifted to him in a dream by Kubera. So I don't know the story of when the dream occurred, but Kubera appeared in the dream of Lakshmana and gave him the mantra to invoke this wonderful astra. And this is a very difficult arrow to resist even for the demigods. So if someone releases it on the demigods, even the demigods wouldn't be able to defend themselves against it. So these two arrows were shot and Indrajit's arrow became subdued. Finally, they are still hitting each other by different arrows. It looked like two major planets were coming to clash with each other. Now, finally, Lakshmana becoming very enraged, invoked the Varuna Astra. Now, when he mounted the Varuna Astra, Indrajit himself mounted the Rudra Astra. That was with him to counter Lakshmana. And these two arrows, the Varunastra and the Rudrastra, clashed with each other. And suddenly the whole sky, the firmament, got lit up by the clashing of these two mighty missiles. Then Lakshmana shot an arrow that was invoked by Surya Deva. And when he hit it on Indrajit, Indrajit became very angry. So Indrajit picked up a sharp arrow by the name Kutamudgara. Kutamudgara is when once that arrow is shot, it splits into many little arrows, each very powerful, and then causes like a carpet damage. I think even in warfare you have such bombs that will be released, and then they will release their own little bombs that can cause havoc across a wide area. So Lakshmana shot an arrow to counter it, an arrow that had the power of Maheshwara in it. Now, this battle was so fantastic that all the created beings, the rishis, they're all standing in the sky looking at this battle and completely astonished. Finally, the rishis had Indra as their leader, and this Indra, who had performed 100 Ashwamedha Yagyas, the rishis, they were reciting mantras, the Pitrus, the Devas, the Gandharvas, the serpents, that is from the Nagaloka, they all Rarakshur Lakshmana Rane. They were all extolling and glorifying Lakshmana for the kind of battle he's fighting, because they have never seen something. Indra has come to see. Imagine Indra, who has fought so many battles. For him, if it's just an ordinary fight, why would he come to see? Even he has not fought fights like this. So they are shooting each other like at this anytime. And this is where now all this while Lakshman is addressed in different ways. And this is where Valmiki addresses him as the brother of Sri Rama. And this brother of Sri Rama, what he did is picked up a very powerful weapon, which was Aindrastra, mounted it on his bow. And this is a very famous verse that says that if one is facing any challenge and one invokes this mantra that Lakshmana invoked, then one's obstacles are all removed by the grace of Sri Ramachandra, not one's own strength. One can never imagine that one's obstacles are removed by one's own strength. That is very foolish. It is Sri Ramachandra. Even the mighty Lakshmana only kills Indrajit when he utters this Rama. It's nothing to diminish Lakshmana's greatness. In fact, this glorifies Lakshmana, that he invokes the name of Sri Rama. That's a famous verse. Dharmatma satyasandhascha Ramo Dasharathir yadi Paurushe cha pratidvandena enam jahi Ravanim Indrajit. So he says, if my brother, if Sri Ramachandra, Dharmatma Satya Sandhascha Ramo Yadi, if Ramachandra has always, which means even if once he has crossed the line of Dharma or crossed the line of being avowed to Satya. So, Yadi, if at all Sri Ramachandra is the Dharmatma, is the Satya Sandha, Dasharathi, the son of Dasharatha, Paurusha, in him is so much valor. And what kind of valor? Apratidvandva, absolutely no match against Sri Ramachandra. Tad enam, then let this arrow, Jahi Ravanim, may kill the son of Ravana. Although it is Aindrastra, the Aindrastra itself is very powerful. But what to speak when Sri Ramachandra's character, Ramachandra's glory is attached to that arrow. Now, as soon as he released it, that arrow, because it had the potency of Sri Ramachandra in it, went fast towards Indrajit and cut off his head. This head that was wearing whitey beautiful crown with beautiful earrings was separated from the torso. Tat shiraha sharistas tat shiraha sa shirastranam crown or helmet. Srimad Jwalita Kundalam. Srimad, very beautiful. Jwalita, shining Kundalam. Pramathayendrajitaha Kayat Patayamasa Bhutale. Got separated from his body and fell to the ground. Indrajit finished. And when Indrajit was killed like this, everybody suddenly dropped their weapons. All the Vanaras started to celebrate very loudly, including Vibhishana. And the celebration was like the great Devatas and Rishis celebrated when Vritrasura was killed. Now from the heavens, everybody was shouting, Jai, Jai, Jai to Lakshmana, the Rishis, the Gandharvas, the Apsaras also showed up dancing in the sky while the Gandharvas are playing music, seeing Indrajit fallen on the ground and glorifying Lakshmana for his mighty deed. Now, everybody threw their weapons and the Rakshasas immediately, and before they were killed, they all ran away. There was a complete mayhem, panic, chaos, and they all ran away. Some ran away into Lanka to hide behind the walls and in their homes. Some jumped into the ocean, and some went and hid in the Trikuta mountains. Then the Vanaras the rishis, not one, the rishis started to chant wonderful mantras. Then what happened around the entire land is here the effect in the sky and other places. There you go. They were the heavenly people were playing drums, they were singing, they were dancing, and the gods sent down showers of flowers. Vavarshuhu pushpavarshani tad adbhutam iva bhavat. Prashasham, they were glorifying, extolling. Hate tasmin rakshase kruram karminai. He was a very cruel fellow. So they were all glorifying Lakshmana. Then the waters that were all around, so let's say rivers and ponds, became very still. Suddenly the sky became clear. And the gods and apsaras, they all were celebrating, feeling very gratified. The Gandharvas, the Danavas, everybody arrived on the scene, and they said, let the Brahmanas now freely move about without any anxiety. Now, feeling overjoyed, the Vanara army started to jump and celebrate and loudly glorify hmm, Lakshmana and felicitated Lakshmana on his victory. They all loudly said, Jaya to Lakshmana, victory, victory to Lakshmana. And how did they do it? They started roaring, they were jumping, and they were lashing their tails to the ground. Langulani pravidhyanta sphotayantascha vanaraha Lakshmano jayati ityeva vakyam Vishravaya Santada. Loudly, loudly, they're saying victory to Lakshmana, victory to Lakshmana. And here is a fascinating point. How does one celebrate victory? Different people celebrate victory differently. Some pop champagne bottles, some spend money lavishly, some do something even nasty. Some people uh, thump their own chests. And even if they don't have that strength, but here, the mighty Vanaras, Jambavan, Sugriva, Angada, Hanuman, Mainda, Dvivida, Gandhamadana, Gavaksha, all these persons, including Lakshmana, you know how they celebrated? Anyonyam cha samashilascha harayo hrashtamanasaha chakrurruchamavaccha guna raghavashraya satkatha. They all embraced each other. They felt very much delighted in their minds because each of them had so many good qualities. But most importantly, they indulged in the very charming talks about Sri Ramachandra. The best way to celebrate any event is to hear Ramakatha. And that gives the greatest joy to the heart. Harayo Hrashtamanasa. Their minds were greatly joyful. Raghavashraya Sat Katha. They were discussing Ram Katha. That is the way to celebrate. Now the question is, what happens when there is a reversal or a calamity, a difficulty? Then also one should discuss Ram Katha because it gives strength. It gives new vision. It gives new energy. It gives new life. It gives a new courage, new strength. And when there is victory, one celebrates by discussing Ramakatha. The all friends of Lakshmana became so overjoyed that the greatest obstacle, Indrajit, had been killed. So that's where chapter 90 ends. Very beautiful verse. Now, Lakshmana, Vibhishana, and others will approach Sri Ramachandra to give him the news of Indrajit's being killed. Now, Lakshmana has been very severely injured on the battlefield. Ramachandra very lovingly asks Sushena to take care of Lakshmana's wounds. This is his way of Vatsalya for his younger brother, which we will discuss when we meet next time. So thank you very much for being here. I went all full hour. Let's see if there is one, maybe two, actually maybe not tonight. Next time we meet, maybe we can express some reflections. It gives us some time. Maybe you were waiting. I'm sorry I went much longer than I had anticipated. In between, the document crashed and all that, so that took away a few minutes. But thank you for being here. It means a lot to me. And may our day be spent in reminiscing the wonderful activities of Lakshmana as he put this gory demon, Indrajit, down to death by cutting his head off. May the empowered gurus in our life also help remove the arrogance, the pride that the mind is filled with, because Indrajit is always arrogant, dambha, krura, cruelty in speech, cruelty in thoughts, cruelty in behavior, all occurring from pride. And may our gurus, who are the embodiments of Lakshmana or the representatives of Lakshmana, may become successful in shattering the Indrajit within us. But thank you very much. Shri Shri Sitarama Lakshman Hanuman Ji ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.